It's Dr. Tony, and I wonder how many people have no idea what real love looks like because of how they were raised, the kind of environments that they were brought up in, the kind of things that they saw as little children and growing up in their families, in their communities, in their homes. And I ask that because I've seen some pretty foul stuff as a physician, of course, but also as a coach to women. A lot of times you guys are coming in with your burnout and you're describing all these feelings. But when we talk a lot about what's driving the behaviors, what's driving those decisions, what's driving you, I realize that we need to spend a little bit of energy giving more awareness to some of the underlying problems that lead us to be so much the high overachiever. So, as a physician, I know all about this. I was always an overachiever myself, but I've seen some things with my own two eyes that are a little bit concerning. Okay. So, it's graduation season. And because I mentor so many people year after year, and because I go to a lot of graduations, I will walk up to people and say, "Hey, how's it going?" Some people are roommates and you know them by association. Some people you have more of a close relationship with, but those years add up. Those years go by, and graduation is supposed to be a time of celebration. So I'm walking up to one of my mentees essentially and said, "Hey, aren't you so and so's roommate?" "Oh, yeah. How's it going?" "Oh, I'm getting my degree. I've got high honors. I've got a job lined up. I've got a great internship." And I'm like, "Bravo, great job." But when it was time to say, "Well, where's your family?" there was this quiet. I'm like, "What's the problem?" Everybody's like, "No, we're not going to talk about that part." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" They had to say, "Well, because I didn't want to go into my original plan, which was engineering or physician or whatever, my family disowned me. My family stopped talking to me. My family stopped supporting me financially. This is an honor student, great grades, great scores on all the standardized tests, you name it. But because they didn't want to follow that traditional path that was chosen by other people, wasn't going to have the support. And they meant it. It means, you have to stop and work. It means you have to make some sacrifices, etc. And this was a good person. So I was sad to see it, sad to hear it. And of course, we made sure they were invited to all of the other festivities and celebrated and all of that. And frankly, if you have a job right out of college and you're doing great and not even needing to go to grad school, this is something worth celebrating, right? Not if you have your mindset on only one thing. So it's common for high achievers to have some very strict parameters in order for somebody to support and encourage you. And we need to talk about those 6 types of narcissism that you can see in parents. Now, I say parents, but a lot of us have a whole village of folks who have been in a parent role or leading you in some way as an elder in the family. A lot of us have a village. Name someone in your village that was not your parent who helped you along the way. Maybe you stopped there after school. We were latchkey kids. Maybe they supported you even at the church, or encouraged you over the years or in the summers and asked about your grades and all that kind of stuff. So sometimes it's an aunt, a relative, etc. Sometimes it's the neighborhood. Sometimes it's your church or other community group. But there are some people who they have some shady sides to them and some narcissistic patterns of behavior and thinking. And they may not be a whole narcissist, but they're showing some narcissistic traits. And this is what we're talking about today. So the reason this is important is because it's very difficult for children to discern between, what's real and what's not, what's love and what's not. And so you can grow up thinking you're just never going to be good enough. And so there's a lot of people in some strange relationships as a result, and they don't trust their own feelings. They don't trust their own judgment. So they go back and forth. They want to take a survey. I call it trying to get a cosign on everything you do. And then some people don't feel like they can have much value unless they're producing something or taking care of other people. So let's talk about the different types of environments you can be raised in where this happens. I mean, this happens a lot. So the flamboyant extrovert. I want to say that I watched a documentary about was it Judy Garland? It was a document like Liza Minnelli and Julie Garland, Judy Garland. I feel like I saw something about their relationship where, trying to live in the shadow of your parent who is a star, right? Or they have a lot of issues, but on stage, everybody loves them. In the community, everybody loves them. But they're a flaming alcoholic or whatever outside of the stage, like everybody's covering for them, etc. So everybody also might fear this person because they don't want to upset them. They don't want them to stop producing and performing. And so they're all about the sequins and the glitz and the glamour in front of the cameras. But behind all of that, if you're not helping them look good, like mommy dearest, and make you look like the star, if you're not there to make them feel better, forget it. They're not going to give you any love. And a lot of times you live in their shadow. You live in their shadow, and that can be difficult to overcome. Whitney Houston comes to mind, and I'm using performers because it's a little bit more obvious when you see the tragedy that can ensue with a Whitney Houston and then her daughter, Bobby Christina. We would have never thought she would be gone so soon. So it can happen a lot in our communities, but it's really hard on other people who care about you. They want to be in a real relationship with you, but all you really want is for them to be a trophy kid. Number 2, this is super common where I come from. The accomplishments. You have to have straight A's. You have to have high honors. You have to sit on every single committee, right? And before you can even say hello in a social setting, people are walking up to you. People you do not know. Have you ever gone to your parents' job and before you can even say hi, people are coming up to you, telling you about yourself? Oh, you're the so-and-so, such and such child who did so-and-so, because they know your whole list of accomplishments because that's all your parents talk about. This isn't a horrible thing. It's just that the pressure is on. And if you don't get into all of the elite schools and if you don't perform a certain way, they can and be embarrassed and act embarrassed or embarrass you, trying to tear you down in front of other people. So sometimes they're kind of upset if they have their heart set on this Ivy League school and you get a full scholarship to a non-Ivy League school. Like, oh, well, that doesn't matter. Where you need to be is here. That's not exactly support. So the accomplishment oriented is one of the people that I spend a lot of time coaching because they're very successful, but they have a hard time with their inner imposter, because they can't internalize their accomplishments because they think it's never good enough. So they're always trying to be perfectionists and so forth. And it's important that we consider why that might be so that we can work on breaking the cycle. Okay. If this is you, don't be surprised. Schedule an appointment. I know it's, busy schedule these days, but get on my schedule, drtonymd.com/talk. I want to educate you so you're not feeling so isolated. Because a lot of these parents and families, when you get together for holidays, etc., it's supposed to be a time of celebration, weddings, funerals, they tend to show out. And the secretly mean is one of the worst. They like to pretend that all is well and pretend that they're the perfect parent and you're the perfect child because that makes them look good. But as soon as the doors are closed, you never know who you're going to get with. It's like a Jekyll and Hyde. It's this two-faced person who in the community, they're highly respected and, so forth. But who they really are behind closed doors might be somebody completely different. And what's scary about that is the kid doesn't know who they're going to get today. They don't know. They're walking on eggshells at all times. They're really not sure what to do. And they're constantly trying to keep this person happy as opposed to making themselves happy. Well, guess what kind of relationships they end up in half the time? The psychosomatic. If you're in the medical field, you know what psychosomatic means. So, those people who there's always a complaint. There's always a physical pain, my stomach, aches, pains, problems. As soon as you see them, they go into their list of problems and how bad they feel, and they want all of this attention, right? And many of these people, they really could use some help. Okay. They do have legitimate things. Maybe there was a crisis in their life that they never faced. So they have all these feelings. And so they don't want to deal with it. And so they can escape. And then they manipulate other people for attention. So if you play into their story, they tend to be your friend. They like you, they want attention, right? But the minute you have a problem, you are not there. They don't like when the attention is not on them. So there are a lot of people who struggle with saying, hey, I have a problem, because they're afraid that they're going to be discounted, and that's no fun. So if you have an illness and then you have a person in your life who is a parent figure who has one too, they're in competition with you. And it is very sad for the child, because it's going to be really hard to get the sympathy that you need or the care that you need if they're always trying to point to their needs. Okay. Number 5. This one is a little bit hard because the addict isn't always somebody that we can tell has a problem, but I'll be honest with you, I've seen addiction to all kinds of things. Some people are addicted to the attention. All people who have narcissistic traits are. That's all they do all of this just for attention and control and so forth. But the addict could be a substance abuser. We're talking alcohol, we're talking hard drugs, but some of them are just addicted to attention. Like they just want to be the center of attention no matter what. And the child goes neglected. That's the theme here, is that the child's emotional needs, developmental needs are neglected. And I'm not saying that the person is faking a problem. I'm saying that their problem always trumps the child's needs. The child ends up emotionally neglected. The child ends up never ever being able to prioritize their own feelings or needs or self-care. So these adults end up with all kinds of stressors, but dealing with them and coping with them, oftentimes it's just band-aids. They're putting duct tape all over themselves, trying to make up for the feelings, but not really knowing what to do. And this is the last one, number 6, the emotionally needy parent. Now, all of these types of showing the narcissistic trait in a parent, all of them are emotionally needy. That's kind of the problem. But this one is difficult because, how is a child going to find a way to support them? Have you ever seen the parent? We all went to school with a couple of moms. So you have a friend. I was a cheerleader. And I remember we were having like a pep rally, and most of our parents were at work. Okay. They could not come to these events in real time during the day. Well, this lady sashays in, she's looking all good. I was like, oh, is that your sister? She's so beautiful, whatever. She's like, yeah, she's wearing my dress and she's always competing with me and flirting with my friends. I was like, what? But this emotionally needy, flamboyant, extrovert mom was in competition with her daughter, and she could not stand for her beautiful, talented, scholarly daughter to be getting all this attention because she did not really, do very well in life. And even though she told her daughter to go for it, she felt some type of way when she did and got all the attention. It was homecoming queen, that whole thing. So those types of folks are dangerous, right? And if we don't face the problem, if we don't acknowledge the problem, it manifests in ways that aren't healthy for you. I don't care how old you are. I don't. It doesn't matter, because if you're still operating from those old rules, those old ways of thinking, other parts of your life are operating that way too. So it's a very skewed and difficult, impossible almost standard that you're trying to live by. And it's not easy to find people who love you for you. It's not easy to find people who will do for you the way you do for them. And so these cycles of the way you think and behave tend to create problems. There's ways to break free, obviously. But if you're feeling kind of tired of the whole thing, tired of the family gatherings where you're dreading being there, tired of feeling a certain type of way and not knowing how to get out of there, and you're kind of just worn down, but you're really obligated to all these events and all these places you need to be, and you need to show up as your best self, give me a call. Now, I send people to therapy all the time. I'm not saying call me and complain about your problems. I'm saying if you're ready to deal with this new way of thinking and living, and you want to plan for your real life, the one where you're actually enjoying it and you're actually doing what you want to do for your own reasons unapologetically, you want that? Call me. Who's this? There's a comment here. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Ooh, somebody is hacking our system here, so we'll delete that. Any questions, reach out to me, drtonymd.com/talk. As a board certified physician and certified executive coach, I feel like those two things go together well, because sometimes we're talking medical needs. Sometimes we're talking sending you out, referring you out for certain pieces of the puzzle. But then you have to also figure out what your plan's going to be. And I'm the person who helps you get your plan, helps you implement and change your life. I actually am meeting with a client tonight. We will be talking about how she got out of a whole lot of old ways of thinking and behavior and became a serial entrepreneur with 3 successful businesses, and she's still a physician, and she's a mom of 2. So you want to tune in next week. I may put it on hold just for the holiday. We'll confirm sooner than later, but you can do it. Even if you're a mom, even if you're working long hours, and even if you think it's too late, it never is. My oldest client's probably was 67 or something. Like, there's never too late to claim the last year's, claim your new transition plan, or decide you're more than enough. It's Dr. Tony, your board certified physician, certified executive coach, and I am here to help you build the life you actually want and enjoy. Take care. Talk soon.